we go, starting a brand new series, Go Into Your World. Right here in Pittsburgh, we have a really good example of what it means to go into your world and make a difference. Actually, it was in the mid-1800s that 7 Sisters of Mercy came to Pittsburgh to meet practical needs. They didn't really come here to actually start a hospital. They didn't come here to open up a new clinic. What they did is they came to help hurting humanity. That's right, they came to care for the hopeless and the hurting. And what came out of that is actually what we now know as Mercy Hospital. It was originally run by the Sisters of Mercy. That's right. 6 nurses with somebody in charge of them, Sister Mary Frances Ward, came to Pittsburgh just simply to meet a need, and a hospital resulted. And here we are, over 100 years later, and that hospital is still functioning, still doing what it originally anticipated to do. Now, this is a lot like what we want to do. It's actually a lot like the way that the Methodist Church, the denomination, started. It didn't start as, hey, we're going to start a church denomination. What they did is they wanted to save souls. They wanted people to receive the gift of eternal salvation. They wanted people to cross the bridge. They wanted people to meet Jesus. And out of that started a church. Actually, it was the biggest denomination on the planet, actually, for a while. The most rapid growing. But something happened with them. Something changed focuses. And they stopped going into their world. And they started, and I'm just reading from history here, they started existing for the organization itself. And here, the Methodist Church isn't the fastest growing, the strong denomination that it once was. I think there's lessons for us to learn. Jesus wants us to go into our world, and he wants us to make a difference. Church, however, is a way that we want to connect people to bring healing and wholeness, just like those Sisters of Mercy did. But if we're not careful, we're going to exist simply for our organization, simply for our lives, and what Jesus can do for us, rather than what we can do for Jesus in our everyday lives. That's what this whole series, these next couple of weeks are going to be really all about. It's going to be how we go into our world to represent Jesus. That is the big idea here. See, our spirituality is not meant to impress people, but it's meant to influence, not impress, but influence and care for a broken and a hurting world. That is what this is all about. So our mission, what Jesus wants us to do eventually, is get healed up and whole so that we can go into our world. So here's the big idea. Here it is. Followers of Jesus will, not can, we will go into our world, and we will make a difference when we see the way Jesus sees, when we feel the way Jesus feels, and when we go where he sends us. That's right, Jesus is sending us into our world. And we are going to make a big deal about us going into our everyday lives, our Monday through Saturday lives, to make a difference here. Now, and again, I just want to stress that I'm not here to help you have a better life. Although serving Jesus will give you an abundant life full of peace and joy. What we're here to do is say, Jesus, we're here for you. And we're here to do whatever you ask us to do. So if Jesus were here right now, and Jesus were standing in front of you, and he were to give you a message, what message would that be? I believe one of the primary messages of Jesus, which is on his heart all the time, which is this, and it's found in Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. That's why he came. That's why he's here. Do we realize that there is more joy in heaven when one person repents? When one person repents, there's more joy, there's happiness, there's a celebration going on. Do we realize this is God's heart? This is his heart expressed to us. So today we're going to jump into Matthew chapter 9, and we're going to look at verses 35 to the end of the chapter, and then we're going to look at verse 1 in chapter 10. So here we go. Let me give you some context, for Matthew chapter 9. Here we go. Jesus heals a paralyzed man. He calls Matthew to be a follower. A little girl is raised from the dead, and an older lady is healed she was suffering for 12 years with a condition. 2 blind men can see, and a mute man is able to talk. I think there's something good happening in Matthew chapter 9. I mean, this is awesome. And actually, verse 35, Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogue and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. This is a summary of what Jesus did in all of Matthew 9 here. I mean, it's going on. Jesus has a really good ministry here. But what we don't also see in the midst of all these good things, what we also see in Matthew chapter 9, Jesus was accused of a few things. Blasphemy, low morals. Actually, he was hanging out with scum. Ungodliness, and working with the devil. Why do I say that? Listen, even in the midst of the best of times in our lives, other things can be happening. We can be accused of certain things. Christianity right now, we have a major branding problem. That's right. We're all about rules and regulations. We're all about do's and don'ts. We have a branding problem, but we don't have a substance problem because Jesus Christ still cares for a lost and broken humanity here. This is the truth here. So even in the midst of helping people, there's bad accusations that come, and we can all find a reason why we shouldn't go into our world. People don't want to hear it. People are making accusations against Christians. This church does this. That church does that. See, there's all these things that go on, but that didn't stop Jesus from going into his world. And I don't think it should stop us from going into ours. I don't think it should stop us from going into everywhere that Jesus wants us to go here. And so here we have him in the midst of all these things. He's accused of all these things, but he doesn't give up. He doesn't say, "Oh, Father, please make them stop." He doesn't say, "Stop all that." No, he is going to move forward with his mission. And church, so should we. I believe that with all of my heart. Matthew chapter 9, verse 36. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion. He had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. It's amazing that there's times when we can all be in the same room and we all see something different. Here, I could imagine if I was one of his disciples and Jesus is doing all this, it's like, "You're the man, you're great. You look at everything you're doing. This is awesome." But here Jesus looks at so many more people that need the love of God in their lives. And it's like he's broken. He's moved here. He saw, which means to look upon, to perceive, to discern, to beware. And I just want to challenge us as I've been challenged. Am I looking at the people in my world? Am I looking at them the way God sees them? Or am I just seeing them the way I see them? And I'm busy and there's a lot going on and not really discerning what's around me here. But he had compassion. That means a strong and powerful emotions. What moves man in the deepest depths of his being. That's right. Jesus, when he discerned and perceived, he was moved in his heart. See, every follower of Jesus will make a difference. Will make a difference in their world when we see the way Jesus sees with discernment. When we feel the way he feels with compassion. These are strong emotions. This is a very, very strong. Matter of fact, this word compassion is the most serious emotion word that they could find here for pity and for emotion here. And why was Jesus moved? It was the plight of people. They were harried and harassed and helpless. They were in need of care. They were troubled. They were vexed. There was a heavy burden here. They were downcast. They were cast down. There was something heavy upon them. You see, this is how Jesus viewed them. Not once was it, and this is how I would have probably viewed them, because I'm guilty of this myself. There's probably a reason they're harassed. There's probably the bad decisions that they're making. Why don't they get a job? And why don't they get a different home? And why don't they just move forward? See, we view people in this world as conservative and liberal, black and white, blue collar, white collar, no collar. We view people in all of these different things. We view people, older people, part of the Focus generation, and younger people, those millennials, those Fire generation. See, we view people with all these externals, but Jesus discerned beyond that. And if we are going to go into our world and be a representation of Jesus, we have to be able to see beyond the natural, see beyond the labels that people have. See, what if we could see the way Jesus sees? What if we could see them truly as sheep without a shepherd? Now, the interesting thing about sheep is this. If a sheep falls over on its back, it has no ability to right itself. That's right. If a sheep falls over, for whatever reason, it's going to lay and just flail its legs for hours or maybe a day or so until it dies or is devoured. That is the significance. Do we see and discern that people are turned over on their back and they're helpless? They're burdened, they're harried, they're harassed, they're broken, and they need a shepherd. They need somebody to put them aright. They need to make them right in this world, right side up. That's what people are waiting for in our world. Or do we just view people as that? They have a problem. They're unsaved and, oh well, they probably deserve what's going to happen to them. That's not the compassion of Jesus. That's not how we go into our world. See, why did Jesus cry in John chapter 11, in Luke chapter 19? Now Jesus in Luke there, he's going into Jerusalem here, and he's going in and he begins to weep. The shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept, is when he was meeting Lazarus' family, and Lazarus was dead at this point. Now, may I suggest to you, he would not have wept out of despair or hopelessness. But could it be he wept out of the fallen condition of mankind? And how people were in this world because of the fallen condition of mankind. Could it be that these were the things that were driving him here? That he was weeping because of fallen man? Not just out of, oh, what was us and what was these people without help? When's the last time that maybe we wept over Pittsburgh? That we wept over our community or our city? When's the last time that we wept over the people around us because of their fallen state? See, it's so easy to get involved with God's mission and maybe get so busy doing that we forget that we're supposed to be and we're supposed to see the way Jesus sees and feel the way Jesus feels. This is what moves us. See, can a disciple really be called a disciple? Can a follower really be a follower of Jesus and not affect those around us in our world? See, I want to make it clear here. We as Bridge City Church are not only interested in social justice and meeting practical needs, although that is definitely something God has asked us to do. We are into spiritual justice. Listen, social justice is good, but spiritual justice is better, because spiritual justice solves the true core need that we all long for. We long to connect to God. I believe that every one of us intrinsically has that within us here. And so what those people in our world are waiting for? They're waiting to meet somebody that really is going to be a demonstration of Jesus, seeing the way he sees and feeling the way he feels and demonstrating his compassion here. But listen, compassion, I want us to catch this. Compassion doesn't have to approve, but it does have to accept. It has to accept that man has fallen and man is in a hopeless, helpless, desperate state. That's what we grab hold of. See, many people, they think, well, if I'm going to have compassion, that means I approve of maybe lifestyles or I approve of the way people are living. No. Compassion is moved because it accepts that people are broken and hurting because this world has affected us negatively. It has affected us in a horrible, horrible way here. So this is really all about an expression of love. We need to know that, see, it's an expression of love to go into our world here. Know his love and show his love. That's so important. And if we lose our why, we lose our way. And I think this is what happens. We've lost some of our compassion and we've lost our why. And so we've lost our way here. And so we're not going to go, and I'm not trying to condemn you to go into your world. I'm trying to compel you and impart to you and equip you to go into your world the way Jesus would have us do it here. This is it. So Matthew chapter 9, verse 37, we're going to keep going with this text. He, that's Jesus, said to his disciples, "The harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray. Pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his fields." And so this is where it starts. It says, hey, let's pray. Let's start. Let's pray here. Let's pray that we'd be sent, to be thrown into, cast out, catapulted into. I mean, when's the last time that we prayed, God, throw me into the harvest? Because the harvest is plentiful. That's right, the harvest in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is plentiful. The harvest in all of our locations of our campuses in Brighton Heights, in Murraysville, in North Braddock, and White Oak, the harvest is plentiful. What God is waiting is for us to say, hey, God, throw me in to my harvest here. See, we don't have a harvest problem, we have a worker problem. See, this is it. See, our Monday through Saturday matters to God, and I want to be thrown in. Why? Let me tell you my why. Because heaven and hell are real. But let me tell you another reason why. Because somebody stopped and talked to me about Jesus Christ at the Monroeville Mall. That's right, they stopped me. They didn't have to talk to me, 15-year-old punk kid just hanging out at the mall, but they dared enough to stop me and ask me about this Jesus and talk to me about his love and his mercy and his grace. It changed my life forever. See, I just want to do now what somebody did for me. I want to pay it forward. I just want to simply pass it on. I just want to simply share that here. See, I think we all need a case of the I can't help it. I can't help it, but I got to share it. I can't help it, but I just want somebody to know. See, it's out of joy. It's out of life because we run into people that are distressed and helpless and hopeless. Well, how about we approach it like this? We should be approaching it like, man, I just wish you had my peace. I wish you had my joy. I have the same problems that you do, but I wish you had mine. We live in a culture and a society right now that's filled with anxiety, filled with depression, filled with all these things. And people need the peace and the joy and the life of God. They need to know that somebody cares because they don't want to know how much we know. They want to know how much we care. That's really what they want here. See, the harvest really is plentiful, and that's how we ought to be living here. See, we as a church, we exist so that as many people as possible will begin a relationship with God And also, hey, become fully devoted followers. But fully devoted followers care about their world because they're in such a radical love relationship with Jesus. They just want other people to see it. So rather than going into our world looking for battlegrounds, we should be looking for common grounds. That's right. Let's look for common grounds here. And we got to stop saying no for people and start saying, why wouldn't you want this? Let me tell you about this Jesus. Let me tell you what he did for me. That's as simple as this is when we go into our world here. That's it. See, I want to tell you something. Out of 4 Gospels, in 4 Gospels, Jesus, he asked 307 questions to other people that are recorded. 183 times people asked him questions, but he only answered 8 of them. Only 8. What I'm trying to say is that as Jesus went into his world, he asked a lot more questions than he answered because he was leading people to his Father out of a love relationship here. He listened a lot more than he talked, but we are going to need to speak to those around us. We need to communicate to those. So Jesus says, pray the Lord of the harvest here. And so then, typically we stop in this text with verse 38, but I want to read one more verse. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 1, Jesus has a solution that goes beyond prayer. Here it is. Jesus called his 12 disciples together, and he gave them authority to cast out evil spirits and to heal every kind of disease and illness. Yes, Jesus has an answer, and it's you and it's me to express his love here. And Jesus wants to create God moments in every one of our lives, I believe on a weekly, may I even say maybe a daily basis with those people that are around me. God's causing God moments here. And how are we going to pray? We're going to pray in such a way as this. Listen, what would change if God answered all of our prayers this week? Would it give me a better life? Or would it affect those around me that don't know Jesus yet? See, my prayer needs to go on to the next level because every follower of Jesus will make a difference in their world when we see the way Jesus sees, when we feel the way he feels, but when we go into our world and where he sends us. He wants to send us into our world. That's what he's communicating here. He gives an invitation of his delegated power so that we can be sent here. This is what it is. And he wants to give us God moments. He wants to create God moments for us that we can just simply share the love of Jesus. What he has done for me, he can do for you. See, there's a lot of questions people may ask. Jesus didn't answer every question. Not that I believe he ignored them, but he answered the real question that people are asking. Is there really a God who still cares about us and really loves us? That's what people need to know. And he wants to use you, and he wants to use me to demonstrate that as we go into our world each and every day. Hey, let's go back to this verse, John chapter 3, verse 16. And here I want to read verse 16 and 17 to you. This is how much God loved the world. He gave his son, his one and only son. And this is why. Remember, if we lose our why, we lose our way. And so let's not lose this why. So that no one need be destroyed. By believing in him, anyone can have a whole and lasting life. God didn't go to all the trouble of sending his son merely to point an accusing finger, telling the world how bad it was. He came to help, to put the world right again. That's right. God wants to use you and me, those sheep that are on their back and flailing, to put them right again. To put them in right standing with God, because my right standing isn't good enough. I want everybody around me to experience it as well. I want to see the way Jesus sees and see those people, and I want to feel the way he feels. And so God, pray, send me with your love, and then let me go into my world here. Another way to say Matthew 10 verse 1 is this. Jesus, the prayer was no sooner prayed, and then it was answered. Jesus called all his followers, and he sent them into the ripe fields. He gave them power to kick out the evil spirits and to tenderly care for the bruised and hurt lives. And these are the 12 he sent. Come on, he sent, and then it lists those he sent. And I'm here today to say, will you and I be listed as the ones who were sent? Will our names be there? Not just getting our names in the Lamb's Book of Life so that we go to heaven, but how about this? Will our names be listed as those who did go into their world to make a difference, seeing the way Jesus sees, feeling the way he feels, and going into their world? This is how we go. And I want to commission you to go into your world this week. And so I want to help you identify your world. That's right. Because sometimes like our world, it just seems so big. But no, I want to help you. And you're going to want to take either a screenshot or take a picture of these couple questions that are going to be on your screen here. Because these are vital questions that are going to help you in the weeks to come here. And that is this: where do you live? That's right. Maybe, I'm serious. I want you to write your address right now, where you live. Could it be that you're not there by accident, but that God has placed you there? God has created this moment in time where you live to affect your neighbors. That's the first question. Your address, write it down. Second is this: what do you do? Where do you work? Maybe where do you go to school? Just write it down. Could it be that God has sent you there to be his representative? See, many times we think of missions going overseas or going around the world. Could it be that God wants to send you right now into your world, right now, your address, right now where you work or go to school? Third question is this: write it out, your city. Let's weep over our city again. Let's look at our community. Maybe that's the smaller area. I might write city, Pittsburgh, but where I live is Monroeville. That's my community. I already wrote my street and my circle of friends. I have a circle of people that I connect to, whether it be at football games attending or whether it be playing tennis with people. Those are my circle of friends. Those are the people that I see outside of the church. Could it be that God is sending me to them? I'm going to go into my world. And number 4, this is what I want us all to do. I want us to make a list of people. I want us to make a list of people that we're going to pray for specifically so that we can invite them to church and that we will have a God moment. Invite them to church, and then have a God moment where we can share the love of Jesus with them, where we can see the way he sees, feel the way he feels, and we can go to them and express his love and express that, not in confrontation, but in encouragement and life. And we can help them go from on their back to standing on their feet and standing before God in that joy, life-giving relationship. That's what it means to go into our world. To identify those people and to do that, to make the invite, because it's easier than we think. There's people in your circle of friends right now. There's people where you live. There's people that are waiting for what you have, waiting for what I have. Let's not say no for them. Let's say yes for them. This hope that I'm sharing today, I believe there's many people watching that you've never really truly encountered this hope in your life. This real, honest to God hope. I want to offer you this hope, and his name is Jesus. I wish you had the peace that I have, and I wish you have the joy that I have in this everlasting whole life that's mentioned in John chapter 3, 16 and 17. And I'm not here to point a finger at you. I'm here to say Jesus Christ loves you, and he cares about you. And if you would like this everlasting life, if you would like this whole life that he offers, it's available to you by saying, Jesus, I have sinned and missed the mark. Jesus, forgive me. You can pray that right where you're at. Jesus, now lead me into my future. Jesus, you be in charge of my future because I've messed it up on my own. I want to be right with you, God. And if you'll pray that prayer just in those words, I believe God is going to bring His hope into your heart, His hope into your life. I believe that your future is going to change because that's what it means to go into our world. And now you can go in to your world and represent Him. That's what it means to have a relationship with God the Father. And that's why Bridge City Church is on this planet. And that's why we exist. And that's what we want for you. And I hope that you found that today. Hey, this has been so awesome to share this with you. Next week, we're going to continue to look at stories about Jesus, the central figure in the Bible. And Jesus, how He went into His world and what we can learn from Him. And then how can we go into our world each and every day representing Him. Hey, don't turn off. We have a couple more things for you left to go. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.